welcome to 5 Minutes, your fast track to smarter insurance technology and stronger leadership. In the next 5 minutes, we're going to show you a better way to lead, scale, and innovate without the chaos. Let's get into it.
You're reminding me of, you talk about reports of a study that just recently came out that I read that talks about the disparity between how executives view technology readiness in their organization versus frontline workers view technology or change readiness. And I think the report cited something like 90% of executives thought that their organization was technically ready for change. And whereas frontline, we're close to like 50%. And there was this massive disconnect.
And that's super optimistic, I think,
super optimistic. I may have misquoted it, but there was a big chasm between the two. I mean, do you observe that similarly, and B, how do we bring them closer together?
Yeah, I believe it is the case because we're just, everybody execute work. We think at a leadership level, we think we're helping by not distracting, by talking about what's coming until we're ready to like tell you everything, and then we blow your doors off. The other pieces, and I just did a presentation on this last week after doing some research, is we have to change how we think about what we look for when we hire and what's the continuum of professional development. We think about as the skills, the technical skills, technical from handling a claim or being able to underwrite and policy administration. We think about it, we hire for that experience, and yet research shows the number one driver of employee performance, success, and retention is adaptability.
Yeah.
And more so than ever. And here's a little nod that makes me personally happy, sitting in the generation that gets a little, like, hits the ageism thing. The most adaptable generation today is Gen X. Because the continuum, and I know it firsthand from, I walked into the organization that was, we had a brand new mainframe claim system, you know, but everybody else was still paper.
Right.
Those days, auto liability claims was completely paper. And with the paper fleas that went with it, it is a thing, by the way. And we found that when he was breaking out in rashes.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I had no idea. I thought that was that kind of myth.
Oh no, it's real. Yeah, exactly. So so it's adaptability, and so when you hire, how do you ask the questions about how people react to change and handle change? Because change is something that not only needs to be expected, it needs to be embraced. And then I'll add on to that. And when you stop changing, you should get nervous.
Yeah,
something's wrong. Because the world is not changing. Insurance exists in a world that ideally we're trying to be ahead of the next emerging risk. Often we're not, and that's okay. But we need to be able to rapidly respond when it hits.
Sure.
And again, sadly, 9/11 is a classic example as the whole industry went, exposure management, concentration of risk.
Sure.
Oh, shoot.
Yep.
People weren't managing their portfolios based on that, and they suddenly realized, in hindsight, everybody needed to be, to not have the companies go under. And so I think it's that piece. And then again, when change is coming, bringing end to end from frontline all the way through, everybody, you need to be transparent. And if in fact the end goal is that there's going to be some reduction in headcount, bad news doesn't age well.
Yeah.
And I assure you, under most circumstances, in most day-to-day circumstances, and this is taking aside what's happened with the rating issues, but when you're doing change, the magnitude of the change that people are imagining is far worse. Insurance people are skeptics by nature.
Sure, yeah.
We're looking for stuff to go bad and get ahead of it. So we don't think optimistically, we think cynically. And so the truth is generally going to be still not popular if it is reduction, but it might be. The sooner people know, that's their opportunity to say, where else in the enterprise could I redeploy myself into?
Yeah.
So I think, and so that's that piece of why they think about it, because they know their people are really smart and highly resilient in the chair they're in, but they're not talking to them about the broader landscape. Everybody's heads down doing their job, and there isn't that in hindsight, I wish I'd spent an hour or two a week in LinkedIn, not looking for a job, but staying informed on what my industry was talking about. Things that may not have, that I wasn't hearing about in my specific role, but was going to eventually hit my business unit.
Sure.
And I could have been ahead of it, and I might have made better decisions to prepare my organization if I saw, a competitor's dealing with this challenge.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing about that. Maybe we are, and it hasn't burst yet.
Thank you for joining this episode of 5 Minutes. If you've enjoyed our discussion, we'd love for you to share it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on and hit that bell to stay on top of the game with our practical 5-minute episodes. We look forward to seeing you again next week.